Sardonicast is the most disappointing thing since my son.
Endless trash!
It never ends!
Well, I sure did watch the Emoji movie. It's definitely awful, but I also didn't hate it, nor did I find it ironically enjoyable.
Jaqen pleads with Aya to unname him, and she does so on the condition that he helps her escape. He does, killing like a fuck ton of people in the process, and that's a lot more than 3 deaths.
That's a lot of damage!
But after Weasel Soup, Jaqen retires his name and appearance, assuming a different identity, effectively killing the personhood of Jaqen Hagar.
It's me, Rich Evans!
In the end, the 3 deaths Aya chose did occur, it's just that a whole bunch of other deaths also occurred.
Okay, 1, 2, 3. Wisconsin! Enjoy the movie! Wow! Yes!
Wisconsin is famous for snow and the Space Cups.
Wow!
No,
I know, which kind?
Space Cup is the best movie ever made. It is so fantastic.
Everyone in the world knows that movie.
Cheeseburger,
I tell you.
Enjoy the movie. We see you soon.
In fact, as movies go in general, I think Insurrection is pretty watchable. The direction is overall solid, there's some decent action, nice visuals, and of course the fantastic Jerry Goldsmith score. Despite the sluggish pacing and a truly bland set of supporting characters, Insurrection is okay to throw on in the background. This isn't going to be some Redlettermedia video where I go through the entire movie beat by beat and nitpick the thing to death. However, what this video will explore is just how badly Insurrection screws up in terms of its themes, their development, and why they just don't work within the Star Trek franchise as a whole, or even within the movie itself.
I've got a standardized font, so I guess that's another thing too people don't know about my channel, is my standardized font is actually the official Nintendo font. So the font name is Nintendo_U, and it was what was used for the UI of the Wii U and the 3DS.
Which is interesting because it kind of gives you a lot of subconscious credibility with your content based on Nintendo stuff, that you have that font.
Liam, it's almost like I'm doing it on purpose. Yeah. This is amazing.
I know.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things that I think people will look at, not know, and go, it
Yes.
doesn't make a difference. But like in the wise words of Redlettermedia, you didn't notice it, but your brain did.
Exactly.
On the face of it, this seems like a basic monster movie. A ragtag team of expert civilians and soldiers led by hack filmmaker Meister Classer, taking what they think is a tricky path into the jungle for a science trip, only to discover they've been goofed. Ah yes, his true goal, to film the elusive Rich Evans bumbling in the jungle. Such a Mike way to cause misery.
How long does it take to put a glove on?
Mike! Shut up! And let me take my time getting this glove on for your stupid Monkey Man project!
Gorilla Interrupted 2 focuses more on the humans, like the Godzilla film, but their connections to Kong and the island are more complex.
I really want to ask you about the, in my opinion, all-star cast that came together for Smiling Friends. I mean, you have so many people in this that are so, like, I was so excited to see Mark M. from Sick Animation, Mike from Redlettermedia doing a voice, Chris O'Neill does a bunch of work on the show, and I didn't notice that until I sat and read all the credits, because I'm like, I know that there are people that I know hidden in here that have worked on this. So what was that process like, and how exciting is it for you to essentially get to kind of like work with your friends and people you admire?
It was great. I mean, it really is a dream. And you know what? It's such a Hollywood thing for every project that everybody says we had great people we worked with. It really is true this time. Like, it really, I don't think there's one person you could cut out of the production of the pilot and it would be like the same. I really believe it.
Many directors have described the process of making a film as a series of compromises.
Every single aspect of making movies is a giant pain in the ass. And it's never worth it.
It begins with a vision, and when writing the script, the director needs to decide what stays and what goes based on what they think they can actually achieve during production. Once filming begins, more things will need to be changed once they're physically on a set, and how to go about achieving what's in the script is slowly realized. During post-production, more aspects of the director's vision will be left on the cutting room floor, perhaps for time constraints, or perhaps due to a studio or producer's influence. Finally, when the film reaches theaters, It is a bare-bones abomination of what the director had originally envisioned. As a writer, I can relate, as there is often a point where any creator of any project will lose all hope. Having deviated so far from the path they had originally wanted, there comes a moment of, why am I doing this?
I started with movie reviews, which was something I had wanted to get into ever since 2009, when I saw a YouTube video that changed my life.
Star Wars The Phantom Menace was the most disappointing thing since my son. I mean, how much more could you possibly fuck up the entire backstory to Star Wars?
Redlettermedia was nothing less than a total revelation to me. Here were trailblazers, people doing something completely unique and original. At the time, the Plinkett reviews were about the only YouTube videos that didn't completely suck, and actually showcased some real technical skill. After the heyday of Plinkett, RLM started Half in the Bag in their other series, which I found even more impressive.
That's my used colostomy bag.
They were pushing the limitations of YouTube as a medium. They showed that YouTube could be a place for high-quality, theatrical entertainment made by actual filmmakers, not just low-effort vloggers and commentators. So in June of 2018, very much inspired by Redlettermedia, I started reviewing movies on YouTube. Most of those videos are still up, and I'm proud of many of them. It was a good creative outlet, and at that point, it's all it needed to be.
Or who are you beefing
You're
with?
in a long-time battle with a rival of some type?
No, I mean, most of that is just some people on the internet who, like, misunderstand. You know, like when I put up this video now, these videos, how I directed Annabelle and everything, and, you know, there's a few people who are like, oh, look at this entitled asshole who thinks everyone can afford $1 million crew and everything. It's like, that's not what I'm saying. That I'm just showing what it's like. And, I mean, yeah, people like that who are just cynical assholes online.
So, like, Redlettermedia.
Yeah, no one in particular.
Redlettermedia?
Well, they're fun, cynical assholes.
Well, I'm just trying to get it where, you know, then Variety's like, David F. Sandberg hates Redlettermedia.
Claims to be beefing with them.
Calls them cynical assholes.
Well, they'd probably call themselves that.
Yeah, very true. I mean, but let's be real. Sometimes they think they're, like, too cool for the room, right?
I don't know. Isn't that just their sort of shtick?
Well, but sometimes
I've never had a problem with them, really.
Well, sometimes, like, they're up their own ass, right? You're not taking my bait.
I don't know. Like,
You wouldn't say.
Sorry.
Isn't Mike a little overweight? Don't you feel like he could, like, go on a diet, maybe?
Yeah.
Well, so could I. Yeah.
You're a smart man, David F. Sandberg. You're not falling for any of our tricks.
He won't take the bait, Jim.
I think one of the things some of you might have thought of looking at footage from this or hearing me describe the concept is that it seems very, very similar to Half in the Bag, Redlettermedia's movie review series. And yes, those similarities are certainly there. Both are offshoot movie review shows in which a group of people from a production company known for their popular character-hosted review series talk about their feelings towards films, all while using the tongue-in-cheek, deliberately shitty framing device of working at a business that deals with VHS tapes. Justin said in an AMA that the similarities are coincidental, that rental reviews came out because they already had the VHS store set and decided it should be used for something. But it does feel a bit too similar in its setup and humor, especially when you consider that a lot of the Screenwave crew are openly fans of Redlettermedia and have referenced them on rental reviews. I think comparing the two is really interesting, though, regardless of whether or not the similarities were intentional, because you can really see why Redlettermedia stuff works where rental reviews doesn't. I mean, on a basic level, you have the fact that the RLM guys are generally funnier and more charismatic and tend to have more in-depth things to say about the subject matter. But on a more practical level, then, I don't think these guys have good screen energy. The thing about RLM is that they have essentially 3 unscripted movie conversation series. There's Half in the Bag, normally hosted by just Mike and Jay, in which the two talk about a recently released film. There's Best of the Worst, which has a rotating roundtable cast, a mostly chill atmosphere, and focuses on old, bad, and obscure media. Then you have Review, which has a rotating cast of 2 people talking about mostly older, culturally important films, and analyzing their legacy, impact, and their own feelings on it. This setup works great because it allows you to tailor your watching preferences based on what sort of content or style you might be in the mood for. For example, I generally don't watch a lot of Half in the Bag these days because I personally find it to be a bit too cynical for my taste, and I don't really watch a lot of contemporary movie reviews anyway. However, if there's a review video that interests me, I'll give it a watch because I can usually expect it to have some interesting insights on a specific work that I might also be interested in. And Best of the Worst is not one I regularly watch because there's so much of it, but I can generally throw on any episode that doesn't feature Max Landis and have a good enough time if I just want something chill and low-key and occasionally really funny.
On the YouTube channel Redlettermedia, a collection of middle-aged men make reviews of current films as well as analyzing and making fun of B-movies. Often movies that are lacking in notoriety, budget, and quality. The goal of the show Best of the Worst is to find the things that are noteworthy. Things that are funny, or sometimes even things that the filmmakers, despite their lack of budget or lack of skills, do well. One of the most amusing aspects of the show is seeing just how many movies are in their collection. The sheer number of films squeezed into the background shelves far exceeds the amount any reasonable person would own. The prolific channel posts a Best of the Worst video an average of, I would guess, about once a month, and in each hour-long video they cover at least 3 movies. At that rate, if we just take the amount of Blu-rays and DVDs that are listed in this letterbox collection, it would take Redlettermedia 29 years to go through all of them. But that measly 1,000 films is nothing compared to the estimated number of movies that exist. 500,000, which is probably a very lowball estimate. In another series nestled within Best of the Worst is Wheel of the Worst, where usually random DVDs, not even things people would consider movies, but old, usually independently made videos like safety guides are reviewed. It kind of blows my mind the extra dimension this adds. If there were 500,000 proper movies, imagine how many much smaller production or next to no production forgotten videos there are that exist in the world. The sheer hours of mundane somethings that teeter on the edge of nothing that are encased in this outdated technology. All that recorded human work may never see the light of day again. You could hide a dead body within these black spines. Obscure media is one of the more tragic forms of obscurity. Although it may not seem like it, and especially with the movies they review on Best of the Worst it really doesn't seem like it, making a movie takes time, energy, and effort. It even takes effort to make something that is bad and embarrassing. The trick is putting in the rest of the work to make something not bad and embarrassing. Even if it was half-assed, people wrote scripts, planned production, hired actors, and went to locations. They created large works of art, and many of them will never be appreciated or remembered. Many won't even have the privilege of being made fun of. If Best of the Worst could be considered a big enough sample size, then most unknown films are probably unknown for a reason. Despite the filmmakers' efforts, they are so obviously not thought through, so unremarkable, so mind-numbingly boring, that they are doomed to being obscure.